some of the functionality on your My Teams. I said last time we're going to work at meet entries, but we're going to look at kind of the tools and analytics and a set of those today. If you're in the classic view, which is kind of the default view, just go to tools and analytics and you have this whole grid of things. Mine's kind of structured how I want it. And there's a customize button here where you can decide which ones of these things that you want on, which ones that you don't, and also whatever order you want them in. It tends to be a lot of tools, and I get that. And there are some tools some people use and others they won't use, and it's going to differ from team to team and coach to coach. And that's why we want to give you the customizability to have on there what you want and what you don't want. So that's this view. If we restore to default, actually, default will break it up here into things. These are some kind of things we think everyone will use. Some stuff for daily practice, some things for the meet day, some athlete analysis, meet analysis, records, and reports. I'm going to switch over to the feed view, which is my favorite, because I'm on my phone a lot instead of a desktop. I'm clicking on my initials here, and I'm going to try the new view. Once I switch over, this becomes my default view. Let's tackle some of these things, and I am going to go with the practice tab here. Some basic things. Let's go with athlete progress chart. This is a simple where you can pick an athlete and an event, and you can get a nice little year-over-year comparison throughout week 1 through week 14. We normalize it by week of the season for you, so you can see where they tend to peak and when they tend to maybe go up a little bit. We also look at your section. We put in a little cut lines here for where 16th was in the sections, where 8th was in the sections to kind of give you a reference. Let me switch to some of these, maybe not. Let's go to Camden and pick the 200 freestyle. When I add these grid lines in, we could see that Camden was chasing that top 16 line most of the year, and he got there. And now he's got a little bit of work to do to get down to the top 8, but definitely he is trending, and I would expect to see him there next year. So that's the athlete progress chart, single athlete, single event, able to put on state cut or section cuts. Yes, we can add on state cuts later if we get enough people looking for that. And as always, it has how it works, which will give you a nice overlay and show you how everything works. Freestyle alignment, this is a Mark Seidman special. This is something that I looked at a lot of data over time, and I believe that your 50 freestyle for everyone is probably an accurate assessment of your ability in freestyle. And if you should be able to continue it, it follows a certain pattern. I'll look at 2026, and I will pick Gus. I don't know about Gus. Let's pick Joey. So I use the 50 free as baseline. If you multiply that times 2 and add 4, that should be their 100 time. And then if you take the 100 time and you multiply it by 2 and add 9 to 10, it's usually going to give you a range of where your 200 free should be. And then if you take that, add a minute 20 after a doubling, it should be pretty close, obviously, into the far ends of the spectrum. I tend to use a percent when I get into the 500, but this will show you what you, based on that formula, your freestyle should be and what your actual should be. So as you can see, is 50, 100, 200, 500. He's in alignment with the 500 compared to his 50, although he did get to swim this tapered. He did not swim these tapered. So I would say he's got some work to do in these middle things. And this typically, just to explain a little more, if you can't carry a 50 through a 500, you're either a drop dead sprinter, which is few and far between. Your stroke slows down when you breathe more than your average person, which is technique flaws, or you're a pansy. I'm just kidding. Or you might not have enough aerobic endurance. One of those. But that typically lets me follow freestylers. I'll take someone I know that didn't swim a tapered swims. Let's go Luke, 24, 55, right? And this is someone who I know his freestyle, and when it's not a lack of endurance, it's not a lack of toughness, but he's got a flaw in his stroke with his breathing that does not allow him to maintain speed. Freestyle alignment. See some other things. These are all kind of, this is a pace calculator. So this is where if I want to go a 5, 10, based on some basic math, which you can see how it works. That tells you your 50 pace for at least 50s, 2 through 10. Understanding the first one's going to be faster. You can see here, and the second one's going to be a little bit faster typically. There's a slight bend in there, but we work that out. We also have a 200 calculator. So let's say I want to go a 20000. Traditionally, it would look like this. This is how I teach my 200s. Some people are a little more aggressive. You can do it this way if you'd like. It's going to feel a little different, but different ways that you can look at splits for 200s. Simple tool. But sometimes in practice, you want to hold 200 pace, you want to hold 500 pace, easy way to throw in a time and figure out what that looks like when you're really talking about not taking the time, dividing it by 4, but using some sort of formula to take care of that. You set permutations. This is one I added for Mr. Todd Walsh, but they have this in Team Manager, as he had mentioned. But if I have something like 10 100s on 130, and I want some variance of that to give lanes that are faster and slower, I can do that. So let's say I'm doing 2050s on 45. I'll put 50 on 45. Okay, that's kind of our primary. You could do 18 on 50. That gets me exact. I could do 24 on 40. It kind of spreads it out that way. So you can see 16 on 55 will get you pretty close to the same amount of time. But ways that you can just kind of spread it out a little bit and figure out different variants of the sets. Last one's for our diving lovers. Actually, I'll do a separate one on all the diving stuff. And I'll do a separate one on attendance tracking too. Clock math is good, except for kind of to help you figure out send-off times for complex sets or figuring out how long sets are going to take in general. Kind of two unique cases. Let's say in the first one, I just want to say how long is a set going to take. So if I'm doing 20 and you can skip the 50s, 20 reps of something on the 45, I know that's going to take 15 minutes. Some of you guys can do them in your head. I can't anymore. And it's going to show you the leave times for all of them. So where that really comes, and if you put in, we're going to start on the 15-minute mark, it'll start at 15, 45, so on, so on, so on. But if you were doing something like a little more complex, where 2 100s on 120, 2 100s on the 117, 2 100s on the 1, easy for you. You can do any of these. 14, let's go 12, 13. We'll go 4-second drops. 6, I'll make that 12. If we do that, then it's going to, tell you the time, 7 minutes, 36 seconds. And your leave times are going to be on the 15, 120, 46. You can do some more advanced interval sets instead of having to stick to the base 05s. You can obviously enter if I'm doing 2 rounds of that and I want to end, give them a minute rest in between. That'll throw in that minute. Then we start round 2. And sometimes you can write it up there. That way kids don't have to sit there and figure out super complicated intervals. I think most of them obviously should if it's simple stuff. But that's kind of 2 things. When you're creating sets, how long is it going to take? And when you are doing complex intervals, you can get a sense. I also use this to know if they're done or not sometimes. Little coach cheat. If they finish the last one and the clock says 27, they ain't done. Last one they should have left on 31:12. Anyway, anti-cheating mechanism built in as well. So these are the tools: athlete progress chart, clock math, pace calculator, freestyle alignment, set permutations. I kind of showed you the customization on the classic view or the default view. You can also do that here. Let's say I don't care about the dive score chart and I want freestyle alignment up here. Then I want the pace calculator, attendance. You can just switch stuff around however you want to and make it your own. Save it and done. But I love diving, so we'll bring diving back. All right, hopefully that helps. Please holler. Email me at mnsmanvibe@gmail.com. If you have any questions. Again, one other thing I'm going to hit, and we'll get into the meat and the data tab and some other things here. Here in the more is where you switch to a classic view, and you can install it as an app on your phone. You need to be in Safari if you're on an iPhone. But there you go. That's what we got. Thank you.